There comes a time in life when you realize that something is missing. Maybe it's clarity, maybe it's confidence, maybe it's peace. And you feel that gap, the space between where you are and where you know you're meant to be. There is power in recognizing the spaces in your life that feel empty, uncertain, or unfulfilled. Too often, we move through life ignoring the gaps, pushing past them, numbing them, or pretending they don't exist. But avoidance won't bring transformation. A gap that goes unacknowledged only grows wider, deepening the distance between where you are and where you know you're meant to be. If you're going to step into your purpose, you have to be honest about what's missing. Maybe you feel the gap in your confidence, doubting yourself at every turn, questioning if you're good enough, if you're smart enough, if you have what it takes. Maybe the gap is in your faith, wanting to trust God's plan, but struggling to see how he could use someone like you. Maybe the gap is in your relationships, your career, your self-worth. Whatever it is, identifying the gap isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot build what you won't confront. Too many people stay stuck because they're afraid to admit that something is missing. But the moment you recognize the gap, you gain the power to fill it. It's in that moment that you stop being a victim of your circumstances and start becoming the architect of your future. This is not about shaming yourself for what you lack. It's about positioning yourself for what you need. When you bring your gaps to God, he doesn't look at them with disappointment. He sees them as space for transformation. He sees them as opportunities for growth, for elevation, for breakthrough. But you have to be willing to call it out, to get real about where you are, and to trust that even though the gap feels wide, you are not beyond restoration. So don't be afraid to face what's missing. Don't run from it. Look at it, name it, own it. Because the moment you do, you take the first step in turning that empty space into something powerful, something purposeful, something only you can build. You are not defined by what's missing in your life. You are not defined by your past, your struggles, or the mistakes that tried to tell you who you are. You are defined by the power you carry, the power to choose, to change, to rise. Too often we give our power away. We let fear, doubt, and insecurity decide how far we go. We wait for someone to affirm us, to validate us, to tell us that we are enough. But the truth is, you don't need permission to step into the person you were created to be. You have always been enough. The enemy wants you to believe that you are powerless, that you are stuck, that the obstacles in front of you are too big. But what if I told you that everything you need to fill the gap is already inside of you? What if I told you that your voice, your vision, your resilience, they are more powerful than the fears trying to hold you back? When you own your power, you stop asking, can I do this? And start declaring, I will do this. Owning your power doesn't mean you won't feel fear. It doesn't mean the doubts won't whisper in your ear. It means you refuse to let them control your steps. It means you recognize that the fear isn't a stop sign, it's an opportunity to trust yourself, to trust God, to move forward, even when the path isn't clear. You don't need more credentials, more approval, or more time to be who you were called to be. You need boldness. You need faith. You need the courage to say, I may not have all the answers, but I refuse to let this gap define me. You are stronger than you think, wiser than you know, and more capable than you have been led to believe. The moment you decide to own your power, everything shifts. The gap no longer looks impossible. It looks like an opportunity. And you look like someone who is ready to step into their destiny. Too many people wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect resources before they start building. They look at what they don't have, what's missing, and convince themselves that they can't move forward until everything falls into place. But what if I told you that what you have right now is enough? That the pieces you see as broken, small, or insignificant are exactly what you need to start filling the gap? The enemy will try to make you focus on what's missing so that you overlook what's already in your hands. But God has a way of using what seems like not enough and turning it into more than enough. The miracle isn't in waiting for something else to come. It's in learning how to work with what you've already been given. Think about it. Every great move, every great transformation started with someone deciding to use what they had. You may feel like you don't have enough resources, but you have creativity. You may feel like you don't have enough knowledge, but you have wisdom from experience. You may feel like you don't have enough strength, but you have resilience. Stop discrediting what's in you because it doesn't look like what someone else has. God didn't call you to build with their tools. He called you to build with yours. When you shift your mindset from I don't have enough to I will use what I have, everything changes. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop wishing and start working. The gap in front of you isn't an excuse to delay. It's a reminder that progress starts with a single step. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You don't need to have the full picture. Just take what's in your hands. Trust that God will multiply it and start building. What you have right now is enough to start. The gap isn't as wide as it seems when you have faith, determination, and a willingness to move. So stop waiting. Build with what you have and watch how God fills the rest. Filling the gap requires more than just recognizing what's missing or deciding to move. It requires trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and most importantly, trust in God. The reason so many people stay stuck in the gap isn't because they lack potential, talent, or desire. It's because they let fear speak louder than faith. Fear tells you that the gap is too wide, that you don't have what it takes, that you'll fail if you try. But faith reminds you that you don't have to see the whole path to take the first step. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when the uncertainty feels overwhelming. You'll look at the gap and wonder, how can I possibly get from here to there? But here's what you need to know. You were never meant to fill the gap on your own. God didn't bring you this far to leave you stranded. He has already gone before you, already made a way, already equipped you with everything you need. But He requires you to move. He requires you to step, even when you don't know exactly where your foot will land. Faith is not about having all the answers. It's about believing that even in the unknown, even in the uncertainty, you are still being guided. It's about trusting that what's ahead is greater than what's behind you. Fear will try to keep you tied to what's familiar, but faith will pull you toward what's possible. And if you want to fill the gap, you have to be willing to step into the unknown. You won't always feel ready. You won't always have clarity. But you must refuse to let fear be the reason you don't move. You have survived too much, overcome too much, grown too much to let uncertainty keep you from what's next. What God has for you is on the other side of faith. It's in the steps you take when you can't see the full picture. It's in the moments you push past fear and choose to believe that greater is coming. So take the step, move forward, walk in faith, not fear. Because the gap in front of you is not an obstacle, it's an opportunity for God to show you that He is with you, leading you, guiding you, and making a way where there seems to be none.